Have you ever imagined a rural patriarch, the regal Raj Kiran, being part of a Maniratnam film? If you have, well, wow. But if you haven't, well, you are in for quite the surprise when you see this week's release, Maaman. Vanakkam and welcome to Cinema Express. This is Avinash Ramachandran, and it is time for the video review of Prashant Paniraj's Maaman, starring Soori, Aishwarya Lekshmi, Baba Bhaskar, Swastika, and a whole lot of competent actors. For actors wanting to become major superstars, you have two short ways. One, play a cop in an action drama that will, allow you to flex your muscles, or swoop in to save the day and spout very interesting punch dialogues, or you be part of a very sentimental family drama that will take you closer to every home in Tamil Nadu. It's very interesting how Soori started off his career as a lead actor playing a cop, and then he moved on to do a family-friendly role in Garudan. And now I think he's decided that it's not enough to just play the hero's friend or the friendly neighbor, or this one of the innumerable characters is played already in Tamil cinema. So I think that's why he wrote this film called Maaman, which features him as the patriarch of the house. Like, he's the one who makes the decisions, he's the one who does the sacrifices, he's the one who ensures every small ceremony in the house goes really good. He does a lot of things that he has seen the hero do in very many films that he's been part of throughout his journey as a comedy actor. In what seems like a very wonderful touch, the first time you meet all these principal characters, like, let's say, Soori, Swastika, Aishwarya Lakshmi, Baba Bhaskar, you don't really register the names of their characters. We know them as someone's uncle, someone's sister, someone's mother, someone's wife, someone's daughter. It's a lot of it's almost like you are more connected to the relationships they have with each other than the names. So that is why when suddenly in one of the later scenes you find one character saying things like, "It's time to go for Pungavanam's wedding," you really don't register that whose wedding are they going to, because the name is never mentioned before. So you're like, really, is there a character called Pungavanam? Where did this person come from? But once you realize whose wedding they're going to, it suddenly dawns on you that you know that person as someone else. And I think this connection must be mainly established because there is very little else going for the film. The plot is wafer thin, and a lot of ideas that are happening in the film reminds us of the 2000s blockbusters or 90s blockbusters, like, let's say, a Samudram or a Samasthanam, or that era of films where there are a lot of people in the film, and they also had a lot of regressive ideas, and that somehow still finds its way in a film in 2025. Talking about the story of Maaman, it's a very simple story. There is a couple played by Swastika and Baba Bhaskar who are childless for quite a long time, and that amounts to a lot of ridicule among society, among family. They are constantly being scrutinized for whatever they do, and in between all this, finally 10 years later, Girija, the character of Swastika, she gives birth to a child, and you might think that is the turning point where these two couple will be at the center stage, but no. This film, just like the title suggests, is about the bond between Suri's Inba and the kid who's born to his sister, and it's about how this whole bonding plays a major role in each of their equations, and how this very heartwarming, slightly annoying relationships become a huge factor when Suri Inba decides to get married to Dr. Rekha, played by Aishwarya Lakshmi. In a film that needed the men to step up and take decisions for not just themselves but also their families, it's somehow strange that the women who do it are, of course, villainized and made sure that they are considered to be the rabble rousers. And of course, all of these happen because you want to move the narrative forward, but it's almost like you're villainizing the women just for doing things that the men forget to do in this film. Yes, Inba is attached to Nilan, but should this have gone unchecked for so long? Yes, there is a scene where Dr. Rekha says that the kid needs some special attention, but should this have been blown into such a huge thing by the mother, who's also a teacher? Why didn't the teacher in that character ever come up to find out what's wrong or what could be done different? Why did the status quo continue to go so far? Yes, there is the patriarch of the village, Singarayar, played by Raj Kiran, and his wife, Pavana, played by Vijay Chandrasekhar. But then this equation doesn't really serve a longer purpose. It comes suddenly out of nowhere, and then The resolution of this arc is also too much in our face. There is no place for subtlety in Maman, but still there are a lot of nuances in it, and it's interesting how Prashant Pandiraj, who's written the film along with Soori, has used all these nuances in a very very different manner. It's all used in the first half of the film, and the second half is genuinely a very meandering film that doesn't really focus on the primary conflict which has been established for 1 hour into the film. We want to know what happened to this titular Maman and what how the equation between him and his nephew changes, but then we are thrown into the deep end of the pool where we are asked to suddenly talk about marriages, suddenly talk about masculinity. And it's very, again, very interesting how the best commentary on masculinity and marriage happens during a funny scene. It doesn't happen during the drawn out parallels between the couples played by Soori, Aishwarya, and Raj Kiran Vijay. It happens during one of the lighter moments of the film where there is Bala Saravanan who walks away with the best of the lines, and then it's a very very comical thing. So it makes you wonder why didn't they choose this route, which genuinely is more effective than the sentimental route that they decide to take. The sole voice of reason in the entire film is Dr. Rekha, played by the brilliant Aishwarya Lakshmi. She has a very very layered role, and probably one of the most layered roles in the film itself. She has to show shame, she has to show vulnerability. There is rage, there is love, there is affection, there is understanding, there is empathy, there is a sense of a personal space. And it's very interesting how the film doesn't really paint her as the monster, but doesn't also take a step back and saying that no, she isn't. It's almost a gray area where they leave it to our interpretation, and I think it's not fair on the makers to do that to the character, because nothing that she does or says is wrong. It's not a crime to want to have personal space, but the film itself builds up to that in a very 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 suggestive way. But to give credit where it's due, it does say that what Dr. Rekha wants is not wrong. So there are it's very mixed oscillations. It's like, do I villainize them? Do I antagonize them? Do I say that they are okay? Just like family, there are a lot of dynamics happening, and not taking sides is a very very iffy way to deal with a film like this, which has a lot of familial relationships coming in, lot of equations being factored in, and somehow, though Rekha does get a lot of scenes and Aishwarya Lakshmi plays it brilliantly, she does get the raw end of the stick. And that's also the case with Swastika, who plays the sister to Suri. Like, we know she's capable, we know she's a good actor, and we see that in this film too, but she's also asked to just oscillate between crying a lot or just being angry a lot. It's like nothing in between. And we actually see that in a very, very beautiful scene where Swastika, whose role is named Girija, talks to her mother about a very, very poignant moment, and they both break down immediately. They fight over it, they cry over it, they somehow understand each other, they know what has happened is wrong, and there's a lot of running emotions. And of course, we have seen them share excellent chemistry in Labbar Pando also. And it's such a beautiful moment, and it's lovely to see them play off each other. But it's a pity that none of the other characters get such scenes or more scenes like that. In fact, even Suri, who has written the film, has portrayed himself as a very one-dimensional character. It's very one-note, and you don't really know why he's done that. Because, see, of course, he plays the patriarch. There is a sense of responsibility he is exuding. He's not a bad person, but he's a good person doing the wrong things for some people. It's a very convoluted space. Again, just like family, nothing is black or white. It is gray. But then I thought in this film he was much better as a romantic lead than the titular role, because the film is actually good as a romance. There's a lot of beautiful moments that really work for the film, and then the whole chemistry between Aishwarya Lakshmi and Suri is wonderful. And it's always, see, we all know that when such a pairing happens, the kind of jokes or the kind of conversations that might happen around it, but it's a very very neat way in which they address this. And full points to the writers for not treating this as a low hanging fruit, a simple joke, but the only time the topic of even how is this person being with this person even broached is when talking about their different professions. After a terrific first half twist, I genuinely expected the film to go into a completely different detour, but Prashant had different plans, and the film actually goes into a lot of side tracks that don't really add up to the whole narrative. We lose track of what is the central conceit. We are asked to go on different journeys, and those journeys are not really engaging because we still want to know how the central resolution will be happening. I think the film does itself a disservice when it stops becoming a story about the sister, the brother, or the uncle and the nephew, or the husband and the wife, and becomes into a whole different realm that doesn't really, work well for the film because you have a sense of disengagement with what's happening. Let's also talk about the kid, Prageet Shivan, who plays the nephew in the film. He's supposed to be annoying. He's supposed to be a kid who is always shouting. He's supposed to be a bundle of annoyance. And I think, considering how many of us reacted to whatever he's doing on screen, he did a good job of annoying us. But then he's also burdened by the fact that the character does suffer from poor parenting choices and convenient writing choices. So I don't really blame the kid for being annoying because that was what he was supposed to do. Essentially, Maaman is a film that is based on the principles of a Karan Johar film that says, that's centered around family and parents and children and egos. And it's also very similar to what director Visu used to subvert in the 80s and talk about how these familial structures are very constrained. Just takes the slightest of cracks to completely bombard the space. So I think it oscillates between it's all about loving your family and distance makes the heart grow fonder. Maman tries to somehow balance both of these things, and honestly it could have been this generation's Samsaram Adi Minsaram, but it just falls short because of a lot of reasons. And honestly, I know that this film is called Maman, but if at all they plan to do a film from Aishwarya's perspective and call it Attai, probably we will all be much more happier. Hope you enjoyed this video review episode, and if you did, please like, share and subscribe to Cinema Express, and do share your comments on the film Maaman and this review. Until we meet in the next episode on Cinema Express, this is your friendly neighborhood critic Avinash Ramachandran signing off. Tata.